many properties down there in that? I don't know how. I don't know how many you own, but I know that there's a few.
That's what's tough.
Because you're investing in the town, so you're investing in the town. That says a lot to me. Because you're putting your money where your mouth is in a sense. You want the town to succeed, I would assume, because if it doesn't, you lose.
No investor wants vacant buildings.
No,
that's not what an investor wants. But sometimes there's constraints. There's permitting issues. There's trying to attract new businesses. All of that different types of stuff. And like I said, I started when I graduated college.
Right.
It was about 15 years ago, and that was my first commercial business that I bought. What did I do after that? I said I don't want to do commercial businesses because I figured at the time what was best was to get into single-family rentals.
Yeah.
So I got into single-family rentals. I bought one up the street from my house, and then I bought one that was a couple years later, 5 years later after I graduated college, next to my house. And then I fixed up my house, moved into a new home, and I kind of just started to create this little single-family home thing around me.
Okay.
And a lot of people will knock me because they'll say, well, you turned all your properties into short-term rentals. And I go, I did. I turned them into Airbnbs, Verbos, STRs. I go, no one that comes and talks to me wants to know why I did it. I had 2 tenants not pay me through COVID because the governor, they told them, my tenants, don't pay your landlords.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's the money?
Yeah, that was happening a lot during COVID.
It was. So I was like, I don't ever want to go through this again. I'm like, I like that someone comes, they have an online profile, I could see if I like them or how they leave the place, they could see if they like me, they use the property and they go.
You ever had any problems with any of the people that have come in?
I've had problems with people like overusing or abusing the fixtures and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Every once in a while, we'll have a handful of problems with maybe some parking. And we're not talking about excessive parking into where there's 20 people that show up.
Right.
We're talking about somebody parks in the wrong driveway.
And
that happens. And I'm like, I can't help it. I try to do my best. Sometimes there's a language barrier because even when they see the pictures or they do something, it's later at night and they're like, where do we go? And when they send it to me, it translates and it didn't translate right. And by the time I get to it, I can't answer everybody within seconds.
So with all that, what made you decide here to run for mayor now?
Well, that was, when
you were leading into that?
Yeah, and I kind of dove back with those properties because we're talking about the properties downtown. How many did I buy?
Yeah.
And like I'm saying, I had about 5 around my house.
Okay.
And when I graduated college, my mom and my dad, they had 3 total. They had their hair salon, they had the hair salon, which had apartments. They had a house across the street, and then they had a house in Spring Grove.
Okay.
So my parents had 3. I really got a taste for when COVID was happening, and I was looking with the short-term rentals. I said, on that home, what do I do during COVID? I'm teaching.
You were teaching.
I'm teaching, and I'm like, this is really odd that commercial properties are dropping from like $90 a square foot to $70 to $45 to $35. A lot of older individuals said, I don't have tenants that are paying. These properties I've ran the depreciation through. I don't want to invest more money into them because I'll never get the money back out.
Okay.
And I can't reinvest it. I mean, I'm going to hit capital gains, all this other stuff. So I had individuals come up to me, like a Dr. Bill Dam.
Yeah.
He said, I have some properties. I'd like to sell them to you. And I'm like, okay, this will work. And this started on the Nippersink and Grand Avenue corner. And I'm like, well, Bill, how many properties you got? He goes, how many do you want? I was like, man, I gotta think about this. And it's just 4 years ago. It wasn't very long ago.
That's not that long ago.
No, and it just kind of snowballed. And we did some things. I got some investors. And then we started as the investors. I started working on the properties, trying to do new storefronts.
Yeah, I've been in your truck. I mean, it's full of tools.
Yeah,
You're out there working on these things yourself. So
trying to when I have time.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, and that's the thing. You work on them kind of not when you can, but when you kind of need to, and other things, times come up. I don't like it when it snows because if it snows, you gotta go out and you gotta do the snow. I'd much rather be trying to work on that apartment, that property, that commercial storefront, but you just go with the punches.
Yeah.
And buying a good handful of properties from Dr. Dam, I specifically knew I needed to go buy a certain person's property before he realized I was going to buy these properties. So I got investors on, people that wanted to do it. And then again, this is the Nippersink Grand Avenue corner. An individual, Tim Bigelow, seeks me out, says, hey, I'm going to retire in about 5 years. You want to buy my property now? And I'm like, okay. So buy his property. So we're looking at that 4-year mark.
Yeah.
And ended up picking up, in a recent, I just bought Lynn Catherine's, 32 East Grand Avenue. And this was my big plan. I'm trying to get Marty Cerise to sell me 32 East Grand Avenue, 30 East Grand Avenue, which is the old bar and the old barber shop. It was completely gutted because it's condemned by the village. We have the paperwork for it. It's been gutted. I'm a little upset with the village because they never turned in the right paperwork. It's been gutted since the day we bought it, but they still have it housed over $300,000 for value. I'm like, you guys don't have the permit? They're like, no one ever turned it in. And I've asked the village multiple times, why didn't we close out my permit? Don't know where it is. It's just those things, and they said it might have been a COVID flaw.
So, of those properties, it seems like are a lot of those vacant now that you're looking to move people into, businesses into?
There's two.
And struggling to get businesses to go there, or no?
There's 2 vacant spaces there.
Okay.
That's it. There's 2 vacant spaces on Grand Avenue and Nippersink. One, even when the investor was involved, I mean, he was a good friend. When he was involved, it was like, let's put somebody in here. And I'm like, no, we really want 5 Nippersink to be attached to 1 Nippersink if we can get this to happen. We want it to be a big restaurant. We want that white cloth experience. He goes, just put somebody in there. We want to get money. And I'm like, I get it, but we can hold this. We can sit on this one. We got 2 apartments above that are rented. They're paying the bills. It's money ahead.
Right.
The GNS bar, it's not a vacant building. It's literally waiting to be the outside patio for Lynn Catherine's so that it can be a bigger food establishment.
That'd be nice right on Grand Avenue there.
It would be. And it's part of the vision. I sent the rendering, and when I showed the rendering to the backyard project, a lot of people just said, we don't want a Starbucks downtown. I'm like,
Starbucks.
I get it. It's a rendering. We put a picture on there.
Yeah.
But we still like our coffee shop, and I'm pretty sure Pete at the coffee shop would like a Starbucks too, because if there's more competition, especially with a franchise, Starbucks, Pete's Coffee, Bigsby Coffee, Dunkin' Donuts, if you get these franchises, you get bigger tax dollars.
Okay.
And that's what we want. And people just jump down that rabbit hole. They're like, we don't want a Starbucks in town. I go, that's not what the rendering's showing.
I see.
It's just pie in the sky. So honestly,